Hey guys, this is Tia Mora and this is my personal YouTube channel where today I want to chill with you and tell you about one of my all-time favorite topics, travel, and why I hate it. These last few days I have found a couple of articles on Spanish media which I thought I want to share with you guys and comment on. The first one being by Alberto Moreno on Spanish Vanity Fair. I found this one of like the hottest things I have read in a minute because I am completely done with the whole I love the outdoors and travel discourse. Like, honestly, what is that about? Like, why? Anyway, I am very much done with that. And this just felt like a breath of fresh air. The title is The Bad Press of Not Wanting to Travel. And just that in itself, I thought was pretty great and spot on because I promise you guys, like, admitting that you are not in fact interested in traveling and you don't feel like taking every bank holiday and every holiday at all, like any opportunity to like go out of town, like admitting that you're not into that is just like almost politically incorrect and almost like a dirty secret it feels. And I just hate it because like it almost feels like people are doing it to fit in and like, it is also an assertion of some sort of economic status, by the way, because like I refuse to believe everyone can afford this. I, for the most part, cannot. Like, it's been a struggle for me to like go on any trip for forever. It's never been another scenario in my life in terms of me paying for it. And just this forceful need to like leave, because the other thing is like, even if you don't feel like leaving, you basically are left alone in a way. Like, I promise you guys, I have been stuck here in Barcelona bored, or in London when I lived in London, like bored because everyone was away for like some sort of random trip, which is just so annoying. But before I get into the articles, I want to start with an anecdote, okay? So basically, I was in Italy a year ago-ish, and I got really mad at someone for very justified reasons. It turns out the day after I got mad at them, I'm getting on a train to another Italian city, and one of their besties is like there on the train with me just by coincidence. And yeah, we had a really interesting conversation. Basically, at some point, he told me about this guy that we had in common in our lives. And he basically told me something that this guy had kind of hinted at before, but this other guy sort of like confirmed it. He was like, oh yeah, he's like, afraid of flying. And I remember, like, in the midst of my, I literally don't want to see or hear from this person ever again, in the midst of that, I had a moment of like, oh, I love that. It was just like, oh my God, that is so rare and like so hot. And, it was just like, wow, like that is one quality that in my mind just was like maximum level of compatibility and like maximum level of rare to find. I just love that. Like, I mean, my opinion still didn't change, but it was a moment of that's gonna be so hard to find again. Like, just amazing. And that vibe of like, I've been in one place my whole life, and everyone thinks I'm like some sort of loser for that. That is so common and like insidious, and just the extreme opposite of how I feel. But there's something of that in this article. So Alberto says, people find it shocking when I explain to them that I dread nothing more than getting on a plane when I'm on holiday, and that I look for an increasingly smaller world with no airport conveyor belts or remote destinations in which to get lost. I 1000% feel that. I did translate that myself, but I think dread is like a very good word to describe like how traveling and like having to travel, because all my family lives far away from me, like how that makes me feel. My family and my friends, by the way, so literally almost everyone. But like dread is the word. It's like you're exhausted. You barely have time to like be integrated in the place where you live, and like the minute you get free time, you're like supposed to leave. And it's just like, why? Like, and the thing is like the expectation of like you have to be excited about leaving. Like if you're staying, it's like, are you broke right now? Which like, yes. But like, it's just like the shock, like it is shocking to people. It is shocking to people, especially either like in the professional managerial class or aspiring to the professional managerial class. It's just like a plague, and I think it's very much part of the class, and it's connected to the fact that the ability and like willingness to displace is closely linked to like how far you can get into that class, and also to the times, to this idea of like there's no past, there's no future, because basically the future has been cancelled, the past is like cancelable. And it's just a very end of history linked phenomena to basically say, tonight's gonna be a good night, and like let's collect all of these experiences as if we were like collecting like, I don't know, commodities, and let's like build our profile with them, because I am fully convinced social media is also part of this. Like you have to post a nice photo. I don't care about your trip and your like Bali food, dude. I don't care. Anyway, Alberto continues. What scares me is not a plane crash, but losing my feet on the ground, remaining suspended midair and getting away like a helium balloon, as if I didn't need to return. And everything I love most is not up in the clouds, but rather stuck to the ground. I love that, because, it's showing you what's important, and I love that for him it's about what he loves most, and he makes a reference to his partner, for instance, in the article. And I think that is refreshing, because normally it's if what you don't care about most is your career or self-development, not self-realization, not self-actualization, actually being able to not have your surplus like stolen, like basically dedicating the best hours of the best days of the best years of your life, like dedicating them to your own um, interest, goals, development in the world as an integrated being in the world with like loving loving and a wide range of long-lasting relationships, meaningful relationships. Like instead of focusing on that's what I want to use my life for, and like he says, like what I love most, like it's not up in the clouds, it's not like on some exotic destination, it's at home. And I think one of the problems here is like that home is often nowhere to be found, um, which just inevitably puts us a little up in the air, makes us resemble a helium balloon, yes, or like us being like a space station, a spaceship, like I said in my last video. I think that's inevitable when the material conditions are this volatile. Um, and so, I don't know, I completely agree with that. I do think it is fully connected to, the being grounded in something, beyond yourself, in a world that is filled with meaningful work, meaningful relationships, a past, like a history, an epic struggle that you're a part of, Marxism, socialism. Heard anything about that? And also a future where there is a possibility for change. And so, yeah, like I think it's that versus the being the helium balloon lost in the air. And it's not like it is housing and the literal lack of a stable home, and therefore like a solid land, like a dry land to like put your feet on, and like just like I think the Jane Eyre sentence from that beautiful scene in the film with Fassbender, isn't it, like lay your wandering feet at a friend's threshold. Oh, I love it. It's I think it's that wandering feet, it's like the other end of this, and it is connected to lack of stable housing, but also stable meaningful jobs. When what you have is bullshit jobs that are like flexible, and like sometimes you don't even go to an office ever, makes it really hard to organize, makes it really hard to, I don't know, find meaning in your life. And I think I just love the juxtaposition there and fully agree with it. And I think travel is part of that instability, and like we are using it as a substitute for the things that we're lacking on, and that is the housing, that is the job, but it is also the family, the long-term friendships, and everything I've just listed, like a meaningful social, historical project, fundamentally. And this article, honestly, I found it so hot. I wish there were more men like that. So amazing, so compatible. I was very excited to read it. And I'm gonna go tell you guys another anecdote. Basically, I was talking to this guy. This must have been a little over a year ago, and he was basically like talking to me about basically not wanting to be in a stable relationship. Great. And yeah, kind of like touching upon that. And he basically said, he was like, doing like an intervention, like to make me like feel better in my life and think positively about it, I think. And he told me like basically I had to be like more like him. And he said something along the lines of, I am my own anchor and I want to be free to move around without being bound to anybody. It's like, that is so sad. I just wish, and I've said this before in other videos, just wish people noticed that they are in fact forced to be their own anchors, because no wonder, because when you have to like change houses like at all times, and basically like also change jobs at all times, which means it's not just like changing homes in like a city, but like it's changing cities, it's changing countries a lot of the time. It's honestly like completely uprooting your life over and over again. And yeah, again, housing and job, like if that changes all the time, and therefore city changes all the time, country changes all the time, that kind of means like friendships, at least the ones that are like in person, and like relationships also kind of change all the time. So yeah, you are gonna have to be your own anchor, and you are gonna have to be like not bound to anybody really. And you're not really that free in these choices. You might think this is freedom, but actually you're not free to make this decision to be quote unquote free. And also, I think Ashley Frawley talks about this, like what people want, like does it come before or does it come after? Like can like material conditions shape what we wish for? And I think it's natural that like when this is the situation, this is what you start like maybe like wanting or thinking you want. And like I understand for some people finding it really hard to like want children, because honestly for me, like if I'm not like, I've always wanting children, but like that's always been connected to either being in love or the memory of being in love. Like it's like you've already given yourself to like someone, which now you're told not to do. Like that's a whole other video, but like basically, I mean, it's not fully a whole other video, I'm gonna touch upon this, but not just in the romantic realm. But basically like having kids is like for me like a natural result of that. And like if there is a lack of stable relationships, and like also a lack of a narrative and a shared project around those relationships, I mean, I understand, like to me, and again, like I also have touched upon this before, like to me part of the thrill of like having babies is like for them to be a part of a shared history, like between me and someone else, of a common, whether that be like struggle, tradition, culture, family ties. Like it's like without those bonds, I understand truly being desensitized to even the wish to have children. And so I want to move on to a very much related topic, which is title, Freedom Does Not Fit in a Backpack, an article by Anaïs Simon on Spanish newspaper El País. Um, Basically, it's about capitalism makes us believe we're bigger and bigger while the meaning of our existence becomes increasingly minuscule. So, yeah, agreed, first of all. Good start there. And basically, she writes about that as a result of a video which went viral a few weeks ago of singer Lola Indigo explaining why she doesn't want children. So she says, this singer, I don't want that huge responsibility for life because I'm after freedom. And I feel that freedom, when you are responsible for a child, completely evaporates. And I mean full freedom. Taking a backpack and getting far away without being dependent on anyone or anything. So, coincidentally, this week I had a friendship breakup, and the person, involved in it was literally started talking to me in this like therapy speechy kind of thing where like too many people depend on me. And like, just being super dramatic about that, which by the way, too many people depend on you. You're not married, you don't have kids, you like, just anyway. Just shockingly absurd to me, but like, yeah, basically, the idea of like anyone depending on anyone else, oh god, the horror. As if we didn't literally depend on landlords and bosses. Literally, we depend on other random people for the most fundamental things in our lives. So, again, housing and a job. Hence, survival. So, there's a big problem to solve, maybe. Anyway, basically, Anaides goes on to analyze this like statement by this singer, and so she does go over like the main reasons that people aren't having children, in the West, and obviously those are material conditions, including labor precarious conditions and housing, like I literally have said 25 times by now. But she adds also capitalism's anthropological approach, which she says is to identify freedom as escape, not from a country, but from the encounter with another. To fear giving oneself, giving one's life, to anything beyond the sphere of production and hedonistic consumerism. Now, I am not one of those lefties that is like anti-consumerist. I think people want nice things and they should, and that is one of the reasons I am a socialist. And actually, again, Ashley Frawley does bring this up, where it's like, the idea is not to everyone like leave the castle and live in like, the tiniest, less like energy producing, horrible like place. No, the idea is if humans are capable of building a castle, then we should all have one, not randomly assigned ones. So yeah, I am not anti-consumerist, but again, that is for a whole other video. Just wanted to comment on it to make sure it's clear. But I do agree. Yes, this is capitalism's approach. It's, the escape from like a country, this like obsession with traveling is part of, refusing to give oneself to another, to actually have a full encounter with another that, to me, ideally should span over time, and again, should have those connections that go beyond like a simple like two random people meeting. And I mean, should, or like, to me that's desirable. I think there should be at least the possibility for that, you know. Doesn't mean everyone needs to want the same thing, but yeah, like it is escaping escaping the other, and you know, just like this idea of existing by yourself as this sort of like astronaut in the middle of, you know, nowhere. Like there's no up or down. It's very postmodern. It can be an astronaut, it can be like someone like just, you know, floating offshore, middle of nowhere, no direction. And you know, you're also told on top of that that you have to be happy about it. And certainly these people seem to be like this singer, for instance. And Anaitis goes on to ask, what are the middle and upper classes who choose not to have children scared to lose? It's the work and consumers' experiences to which they have reduced their lives, which sometimes even pose as transcendental. A trip to get to know oneself, a meditation course to get in touch with the absolute. Yeah, again, I agree. I think, you know, the win for this kind of mindset has been to make it sound profound and to make, you know, investing in like family, long-term friends, like having you, like creating your own family, like to make that sound like conservative and like outdated, and not self-reliant, like, which are like, there are definitely more than one you know, field or like political agent that is trying to go against that idea of like, you know, long-term connection and long-term residence in one place. And yeah, whether that be the abolish the family people, or whether that be the, you know, mindset and like self-improvement and, you know, therapy on steroids people. And they're not always separate, like they're often, you know, going the same package actually. You know, like I think they are trying to push this idea of like, no, wait, actually this is meaningful. You're actually finding out what you really want, and getting, you know, separated from wanting these things that you were told you were supposed to want, such as, I don't know, a family and like material things. She's like, yeah, I do want a nice house and a family, thank you. This reminds me as well of, yet again, the genius that is Mike White. White Lotus season 3, Piper. Okay, so she's so like, I mean, I relate to her on many levels, I guess, but she also, you know, just like wants to like untether herself from her family, who like you can tell she thinks is like quite politically incorrect. And she thinks herself like so superior, and she thinks herself like, you know, very enlightened, and like she wouldn't fall for like this like southern conservatism or whatever. And you know, she goes to this like monastery thing in Thailand. She thinks she's gonna spend a year there at least. And the thing is, she stays for one night and the material conditions are awful. And then she decides not to go. And the thing, like, what I find funny is like she seems to be judging her family for like their politics, or maybe I interpreted it that way. And then the reason that she doesn't go to the monastery isn't because she realizes that, you know, just being so obsessed with random people's opinions is a little useless and childish. It's not because of that, it's because she wants the material things. And I don't know, I think that's an interesting connection because, yeah, it's like you think, this trip, like this completely remote country which has nothing, literally nothing to do with you or like your ancestry. You think that's so like superior and like that's so profound. Um, and by doing that, you're literally like in a way that to me is like incomprehensible. Like happy to sever your like closest ties. Um, and willing to maybe like renounce building new ones in a long time. And I don't know, I just find that pretty dumb, as a way to like go about things. And I think it's just yet another cheap product that they're selling us. Which again, I am not against things, but I am against bad quality like stuff or like ideas, such as, I don't know, trend like clothes that are like really like fast fashiony trends that like will not last for a week. Or like, yeah, like modes of thinking that are anti-humanist, or like these that are extremely like, meant to create a more like obedient subject and more like self-focused instead of, critical um and just oriented towards changing what you can change once you organize, but rather changing your emotions and your reactions to a world that like it assumes must and will stay the same. And so yeah, I find that pretty gross and undesirable and an enemy to a socialist project, fundamentally. And so, yeah, I think, it's not only a sad and isolating and counterproductive sort of mindset and like approach, it's also, yeah, anti-Marxist fundamentally. And just a dead end, in my opinion. Like there's, it's maybe gonna like make us happy momentarily, but like the idea that like this sort of new found obsession with like travel and like being able to get away at any minute, the idea that this is of any like, fundamental human value, it's just, to me, it's simply wrong, and it very well matches a postmodern context and, yeah, a neoliberal zeitgeist. And yeah, I wanted to direct you guys to Ashley Frawley because, she does talk often about being integrated in a project beyond yourself as actually a manner to, for a meaningful life, which doesn't necessarily mean a happy life. Like, should happy really be the goal, or should it be like a rational organization of the economy that allows us to reach our full potential, and, freedom, and basically act as the rational, equal beings that we are? Like, to me, the latter should be like more of the motivation, the fact that like let's reach that potential and let's reach it for everybody, instead of like just the pursuit of happiness. And I love what she says, about this whole topic. Eva Illouz also discusses the phenomena of like looking for happiness, versus, what Ashley says, which is being integrated in a project beyond yourself. So it's not about forgetting yourself, not at all. It's the opposite of that. It's like, you know, you are gonna get your, like, you are gonna be your full self once you are in under an organization that allows you that freedom, you know, on every net level. Again, whether that is meaningful work, dedicating your life to meaningful work and meaningful relationships. And again, like a history, a future project, like all of those things that I've been repeating to you guys. And yeah, please do check them out. I think this is connected to, you know, this whole happiness obsessed culture is connected to what I was saying before about, like, yeah, tonight's gonna be a good night, there's no past, there's no future. We are like collecting experiences, and like on my, you know, social media, look how happy I am in this like random place, oh my god, I'm doing so well. And all of this discourse, you know, which is connected, yes, to the idea of the capability to displace and how that furthers your professional managerial class career. And I want to end on a gem, an article from The Onion, which is a satire on basically like this guy who, you know, never left his hometown, and he gets deemed like stupid, a loser, and you know, it's this idea of like, oh well, if you've never left your hometown, like you've been there your whole life, same relationships, same job, you're already like a father by 29, oh god forbid, you're such a failure, you know, like, because I mean, I think being a father like early like might not be so like looked down upon, but if it's in a context of like, that's because that's probably why, like that's because you've never left your hometown and you've had the same relationships your whole life, then like, you know, then it's like, ooh, loser, like, you know, when it's connected to all of that, then it's, you're basically like a loser and like boring, because yeah, like you've always lived in the same place, the world is so big, just go discover it. It's like, yeah, interesting. This article is titled "An Ambitious Loser with Happy Fulfilling Life Still Lives in Hometown." You can, yeah, spot the satire minute one. I love it. I love this article since I saw the title. It starts like this. Longtime acquaintances confirmed to reporters this week that local man Michael Hasmer, an unambitious 29-year-old loser who leads an enjoyable and fulfilling life, still lives in his hometown and has no desire to leave. Claiming that the aimless slouch has never resided more than 2 hours from his parents and still hangs out with friends from high school, sources close to Hasmer reported that the man, who has meaningful, lasting personal relationships and a healthy work-life balance, is an unmotivated washout who's perfectly comfortable being a nobody for the rest of his life. Yeah, exactly. That's the dream for me. And with this, I'm not saying like small towns are not toxic or like families are not toxic or honestly whatever. I am saying having the possibility, whether you want to use it or not, of like living 2 hours from your family, hanging out with the same people who've known you for like 15 years or maybe your whole life, and you know, having a healthy work-life balance. I mean, how are we like looking down upon that? It's so sad. And I'm gonna end with another quote from this gorgeous article, which reads, Former high school classmates confirmed that Hasmer has seemingly few aspirations in life, citing occasional depressing run-ins with the personally content townie during visits back home, as well as embarrassing Facebook photos in which the smiling dad appears alongside family members whom he sees regularly and appreciates and enjoys close, long-lasting relationships with. Additionally, pointing to the intimate, enduring connections he's developed with his wife, parents, siblings, and neighbors, sources reported that Hasmer's life is pretty humiliating on multiple levels. So, I hope one day my life is as humiliating as this. And again, that doesn't mean there's no place for meaningful work. All the opposite. Yet again, I'm precisely saying meaningful work is important, and so are meaningful relationships, and a meaningful history, and a meaningful project for the future. I think that would be ideal. I don't think the moving around perennially, constantly with no end in sight, and doing a million extra hours at a corporate job, which changes also every 2 minutes. And, you know, for fun and supposed self-actualization, just travel. Doesn't sound great to me. Not excited about it, not into it. I think we have to reevaluate where we are and recognize the link between this latter approach and mindset and entry and advancing in a professional managerial class job and professional career. This is it for today. I'm gonna leave all the links to the articles I mentioned below in the description. I hope if you speak Spanish, you can check them out. And please subscribe and like this video if you did. I will see you very soon.